Battle. Once a king decides to go out to battle, 7 days are needed for preliminaries. On the first day, Vishnu, Shiva and Ganesha have to be worshipped. On the second day the Dikpalas, guardians of all the directions, are worshipped, the Rudras on the third day, the planets and the stars on the fourth day and the 2 Ashwinis and the rivers on the fifth day. On the sixth day, the king has ceremonial bath in honor of the victory that is to come. And on the seventh day, the king leaves to do battle. Prior to the marching, the army must always assemble to the east of the capital city. The start of the march must be accompanied with the playing of musical instruments. Once the army has begun to march, it must never look back. After having traveled for a couple of miles, it must stop to rest any prey to the gods and the Brahmanas. The king must never directly fight, because if the king is killed, the battle is lost. The king must be right behind his army, not too far away from it. An elephant will be guarded by 4 chariots, a chariot by 4 horses and a horse by 4 infantrymen. The infantry will also be at the front of army, followed by archers and then by the horses. The chariots and the elephants come last of all. The cowards in the army must not be in the front, they must be at the back. The front is for the brave soldiers. To the extent possible, one should fight with the sun behind one's army. If a soldier dies in the course of battle, he goes straight to heaven. The blood of brave men wash away all sins. To be struck with a weapon is better than to perform many sacrifices. A person who flees from the field of battle performs a sin that is worse than that of killing a Brahmana. The fight should be between equals. Those who are running away should not be killed. Nor should spectators and those who are unarmed be killed. An enemy captured in battle should not be kept imprisoned. He should be released and treated like a son. Rama precepts. Rama had once taught Lakshmana about the duties of a king. The Agni Purana now relates these precepts of Rama's. The duties of king are fourfold. Firstly, he has to earn wealth. Secondly, he has to increase it. Thirdly, he has to protect it. And fourthly and finally, he has to donate it. The king must also be polite, and politeness comes through the conquering of the senses. The king must be humble. The senses are like mad elephants. If the senses are pampered, like mad elephants, they trample politeness and humility underfoot. The king must also be non-violent, truthful, clean and forgiving. He should take care to observe all the rituals. He should give food to those who are poor. He should protect those who seek royal protection. He should always use words that are pleasant to hear. The body is here today and gone tomorrow. Stupid is the king who deviates from the path of righteousness to give pleasure to a body that is transient. The curses of unhappy people are enough to bring down a king. There is only one difference between gods and animals. Gods use pleasant word, while animals use rough words. The king must use pleasant words like a god. And he must use pleasant words not only for those who are his friends or are good, but also for those who are his enemies or are evil. With obeisance the king pleases his guru, with good behavior the righteous, with duties the gods, with live the servants, and with alms those who are inferior. The kingdom has 7 components. These are the king, the ministers, the friends, the treasury, the army, the forts and the state itself. Of these, the most important is the state, and it has to be preserved at all costs. The king must be extremely careful in the choice of the ministers and the royal priest. The king must not choose or consult ministers who are stupid. The king's signs are his golden rod or scepter and an umbrella that is held over his head. The umbrella should be made of the feathers of swans, peacocks or cranes, but the feathers of different types of birds should not be mixed in the same umbrella. The throne should be made of wood and should be embellished with gold. A bow can be made of iron, horn or wood. The best bow is one that extends over 4 arm lengths. The king can spend up to 1 year's tax revenue on armaments and flags. Dhanaveda. The section on Dhanaveda is on arms and weapons. There are 5 types of weapons that are used in war. The first category is that of yantra-mukta weapons, released from a machine, yantra. This machine may be a launcher or even a bow. The second category is that of pani-mukta weapons, weapons that are flung by the hand, pani. Examples are spears and stones. The third category is known as mukta sandharita. These are weapons that can be flung and also withdrawn. The fourth category consists of weapons like swords that are never released from the hand during battle. These are known as amukta weapons. And the last category of weapons consists of brute force and strength. This is of use in bouts of wrestling. The best form of fighting is that with bows and arrows. Next comes fighting with spears, followed by fighting with swords. Wrestling is the worst form of fighting. Before aiming, the bow, dhanyusha, should be held with the arch pointing down towards the earth. The arrow, one, should be placed against the bow with the head pointing down. The bow should now be raised and the lower end of the bow should be in line with the archer's navel. The quiver should be at the back. Before releasing the arrow, the bow should be held firm with the left hand and the arrow with the fingers of the right hand. The string of the bow should be pulled back such that the tassel of the arrow is between the archer's ear and right eye. The body should not be bent when one is releasing an arrow. Nor should one get excited. The archer has to be still as a pillar. The target has to be in line with the left fist and the archer's posture has to be like that of a triangle. It is best to pull back the string of the bow up to the right ear. A noose, pasha, is 10 arms in length, with both ends of the weapon being circular. The main body of the weapon is made of rope. There are 11 different ways in which a noose may be held. A noose must always be flung with the right hand. A sword, asi, must hang to the left of the waist. When a sword is to be taken out, the scabbard should be grasped in the left hand and the sword should be taken out with the right hand. There are 32 different ways in which a sword and a shield may be held. Property. What happens to a person's debts when he dies? If he does not have any sons, the person who inherits the property also inherits the debts and had to pay them off. If there is a son, the son pays the debts off. But a woman is not to be held responsible for debts contracted by her husband or her son. Nor is a man responsible for debts contracted by his wife or son. Exceptions are instances where a husband and a wife contract a debt jointly. If there are no witnesses to a contracted debt but the king feels that the debt was indeed contracted, the king must arrange for the debt to be repaid within a period of 64 days. In cases of a dispute, the person who brings a false suit will be punished by the king. And a false witness will be given twice the punishment that is meted out to the one who brings a false suit. A Brahmana who bears false witness will be banished from the kingdom. A person who agrees to be a witness, but later withdraws, will be punished 8 times as much as the bringer of the false suit. A Brahmana who does this will be banished from the kingdom. It is better that the details of a debt contracted be written down, with the names of the two parties and the witnesses clearly indicated. If the debtor pays in installments, the details of all such payments must be recorded on the written document. Debts made in the presence of witnesses should also be repaid in the presence of witnesses. If a witness has to take an oath, the oath should be administered after cotton, fire, water or poison has been placed on the head of the witness. Fire or water can be used to find out if a person is lying or not. If fire is used, 7 banyan leaves are placed on the accused's hand. A red-hot lump of iron is then placed on the hand and the accused had to go around a fire 7 times. If it is found that the hand has not been burnt, the person has been telling the truth. And if the hand has been burnt, he had been lying. Similarly, an accused person can be immersed in the water and if he does not drown, he has been telling the truth. Alternatively, the accused can be made to drink poison. If the poison does him no harm, he is truthful. If the father makes a will, the property will be divided amongst the sons in accordance with the provisions of the will. But if all the sons get an equal share of the property, the wife should also be given an equal share, otherwise, the father can leave all his property to the eldest son. The sons and the father obtain equal shares to any property or debt that has been left by the grandfather. But the sons are not necessarily entitled to any property that has not been left by the grandfather, but been earned by father. If a son is born after the property has been divided, he too will be entitled to an equal share of any property left by the grandfather. Daughters are not entitled to property. But sons who have married will use 1/4 of their inherited property to get their sisters married. Donating the Puranas. The Agni Purana now describes the benefits of giving alms along with the Puranas. The Puranas are to be donated together with cows. And in talking of the Mahapuranas, the Agni Purana also mentions most of their length, in terms of the number of shlokas, couplets, that each has. This is worth stating. The Brahma Purana is 25,000. The Padma Purana is 12,000. The Vishnu Purana is 13,000. The Vayu Purana is 14,000. The Bhagavata Purana is 18,000. The Narada Purana is 25,000. The Markandeya Purana is 9,000. The Agni Purana is 12,000. The Brahmavaivarta Purana is 18,000. The Ling Purana is 11,000. The Vara Purana is 14,000. The Skanda Purana is 84,000. The Vaman Purana is 10,000. The Kurma Purana is 8,000. The Matsya Purana is 13,000. The Garuda Purana is 8,000. The Brahmanda Purana is 12,000. The only Mahapurana which is missing from the above list is the Bhavishya Purana. You now have a pretty good idea of how long the Puranas are. The Skanda Purana is the longest and the Kurma and Garuda Puranas the shortest. But unfortunately, the numbers in the Agni Purana are not terribly accurate. The Padma Purana has 55,000 couplets and not 12 as stated. The Vara Purana has 24,000 couplets and not 14,000. The Agni Purana itself has slightly over 15,000 couplets and not 12,000. But at least you have some approximate idea about the lengths of the various Puranas. The Brahma Purana is to be given in the month of Vaishakha. The Padma Purana is to be donated in the month of Jyeshtha. The Vishnu Purana is to be donated in the month of Ashda and the Vayu Purana in the month of Shravana. The Bhagavata Purana is to be given in the month of Bhadra, the Narada Purana in the month of Ashwina, the Markandeya Purana in the month of Kartika, the Agni Purana in the month of Margashirsha, and the Bhavishya Purana in the month of Pusha. The Brahmavivarta Purana in the month of Pusha. The Brahmavivarta Purana is for the month of Magha, the Ling Purana for the month of Falguna, and the Varaha Purana for the month of Chaitra. The Skanda Purana is to be given to Brahmanas. The Vaman Purana is to be given in the autumn. The Kurma Purana is to be given together with a golden urn. The Matsya Purana is to be donated together with a golden swan. The Brahmanda Purana is to be given to Brahmanas. Great benefits are also to be derived from hearing the Puranas recited. The reciter has to be given alms, and the Brahmanas must be given cows, rice and land at the time of the recitation. If one arranges for a recitation of the Puranas, one lives long, stays healthy and attains heaven. Dynastys. Brahma was born from Vishnu's navel. Brahma's son was Marichi, Marichi's son Kashyapa, and Kashyapa's son Vivaswan. From this line was descended Pururava, and Pururava's descendants were the kings of the Surya, solar, dynasty. Brahma also had a son named Atri, and Atri had a son named Soma. Soma performed a Rajasuya Yajna, royal sacrifice. Having performed the sacrifice, Soma became the ruler of all the worlds. This made him very arrogant, and he abducted the sage Brihaspati's wife Tara. This led to a terrible war between the Devas and the Asuras. Tara was eventually restored to Brihaspati, but Soma and Tara had a son named Buddha. From Buddha were descended the kings of the Chandra, lunar, dynasty. There were 12 major wars between the Devas and the Asuras. The first of these was known as the Narsimha War. This took place when Hiranyakashipu was the king of the Asuras. Vishnu adopted the form of Nrsimha and killed Hiranyakashipu. He then made Prahlad the king of the demons. The second war was the Vaman War, and it took place when Bali was the king of the demons. Vishnu adopted the form of a dwarf, Vaman, to subjugate the demons. The third war was the Varaha War, and this took place when Hiranyaksha was the king of the demons. Vishnu adopted the form of a wild boar, Varaha, and killed Hiranyaksha. The fourth war was the Amrita-Manthana War, and this took place over the Manthana, churning, of the ocean for Amrita, nectar. The fifth war between the Devas and the Asuras took place over the abduction of Tara, and this came to be known as the Thakamaya War. The sixth war was known as the Ajwaka War. The seventh war took place when Tripura led the Asuras, and this was known as the Kripagatana War. It was Shiva who killed the demon Tripura in this war. The eighth war, the Andhaka War, took place when Andhaka led the Asuras. It was Vishnu who engineered that Andhaka be killed when Andhaka expressed a desire to abduct Shiva's wife. The ninth war was known as Vritrasamhara and took place when Vritra led the demons. The 10th war was simply known as Jita. In this war, Vishnu killed Shalva and the other demons, and Parshuram killed the evil Kshatriyas. The 11th war was known as Halahla. An asura named Halahla, poison, had invaded Shiva's body and flooded it with poison. But Vishnu managed to destroy the demon. In the 12th war, known as Kolahla, Vishnu destroyed an asura named Kolahla, tumult. Medicine. Dhanvantari was the physician of the gods, and he taught Sushruta the art of Ayurveda, medicine. The Agni Purana now describes what the sage Sushruta had learned, that is, the treatment for various diseases. This does not simply mean the treatment of human illnesses. There is a section known as Vriksha Ayurveda, which describes what trees are to be planted where. It describes how a garden is to be constructed and maintained. The chapters on medicine also describe the treatment of elephants, horses and cattle. The mantras, incantations, which are the remedy for snake poison, are also related. Literature and grammar thereafter. The Agni Purana has many chapters on literature and grammar. It describes the different types of chanda, meters, that are used in poetry. Next it discusses the alphabet. There are 64 letters, vern, in the alphabet, of which 21 are vowels, swara vern. There are 3 tones, swara, in which the letters of the alphabet may be uttered. Their names are Udukta, Anudakta and Swarita. There are 8 places from which the letters may be pronounced. These are the chest, the throat, the head, the back of the tongue, the teeth, the nose, the lips and the palate. Pronunciations should be clear and audible. They should not be nasal and mumbled. The Agni Purana then discusses the alamkaras, rhetoric, that are used in poetry and plays. Poetry is entirely different from the shastras, sacred texts, and itihasa, history. The sacred texts are full of words and historical texts are full of narrations of incidents that took place. But that does not constitute poetry. Real men are difficult to find on this earth. Amongst these real men, it is difficult to find men who are learned. Amongst the learned men, it is not easy to find some who have a poetic sense. And amongst those who have poetic sense, it is difficult to find a few who can compose poetry. Poetry is impossible without a knowledge of the rules of poetry and, even more important, without a sense of feeling. Sanskrit is the language of the gods. The language of humans is Prakrita. Poetry can be either in Sanskrit or in Prakrita. There are 3 types of poetry. These are Gadya, prose, Padya, poetry, or Mishra, a mixture of the two. Genuine poetry is, however, only Padya. Gadya can be of 3 types: Chanaka, Okalika and Vritagandhi. Chanaka prose is easy on the ears. It has very few compound words. Okalika prose is hard on the ears. It is full of compound words. Vritagandhi prose is somewhere between Chanaka and Okalika. An epic must always be split up into sections, saga. It has to be written in Sanskrit, although some mixture of Sanskrit words with Prakrita ones is permissible. The theme of an epic must always be good, and historical elements may be introduced if the author so desires. Literature is useless without the flavor of sentiments, rasa. There are 9 sentiments that are used. The first is hasya, humor. The second is karuna rasa, pathos. The third is raudra rasa, that which is wrathful and awe-inspiring. The fourth is Veera Rasa, heroic themes. The fifth is Bhayanaka Rasa, horror. The sixth is Bibhatsa Rasa, vulgar and obscene themes. The seventh is Adbhuta Rasa, that which is strange. The eighth is Shanta Rasa, placidity. And the ninth is Shringara Rasa, amorous themes. But the sentiments must be used with feeling. Without feeling, all literature becomes mediocre. Particularly in a play, sentiments can be supplemented with skills, kalal. These skills are normally associated with women, and there are 64 of them. The more important ones are singing, playing musical instruments, dancing, acting, drawing, making garlands, sewing, hairdressing and using magic. Grammatical rules of Sandhi and Samasa, rules for forming compound words, are next described. The difference between the two is that in Sandhi, the 2 words that are being joined retain their original senses in the compound word. The case of Samasa is different. Sandhi occurs when 2 varnas, letters, Mit. Samasa is a condensation or conversion of two or more words into one. Sandhi does not create any new word. Samasa leads to the formation of a third word which refers to something related to but distinct from either or any of the words combined. Pita, yellow, and Ambara, cloth, combined by way of Sandhi are pronounced Pitambar and mean cloth that is yellow. The same two words combined by way of Samasa result in the third word Pitambar, which means the one dressed in yellow, that is, Krishna. There are several possible declensions of words, depending on the Vachna and the Vibhakti. The Vachna refers to the number. Ekavachna is when there is only one, phalam, a fruit, Dvivachna when there are two, phale, two fruits, and Bahuvachna when there are more than two, phalani, more than two fruits. There are three genders, Pumling, masculine, Striling, feminine, and Klivlinga, neuter. Deva, Asura, Vishnu are, for example, masculine in gender. Devi, Kalika or Maya are feminine. Pushpa, flower, or Phala, fruit, are neuter. There are 6 karakas, cases, and 7 vibhaktis, case endings. The agent who performs the action indicated by the kriya, verb, is the kartri or doer. To the kartri karaka or nominative case, the prathama vibhakti or first case ending is attached. The object of the action is karma, and to the karma karaka or objective case, the second, dvitiya, case ending is attached. The means or instruments by which the action is performed takes on the karna karaka or instrumental cases and the third, tritiya, case ending. When a gift is given irrevocably, the recipient takes on the sampradna karaka or dative case, and the case ending in question is the fourth, chaturthi. That which is the source of something takes on the apadana karaka or ablative case and the fifth, panchami, case ending. When there is a relation of possessions, the possessor takes on the shashti vibhakti, sixth case ending. There is no counterpart of the possessive case of English grammar because the relation of possession is not directly related to the verb, kriya, and therefore to the doer, karaka. In case of the location in which the action takes place, the karaka is adhikrana, locative case, and the case ending the seventh, saptami. Destruction periodically pralyas, destructions, take place. A destruction comes at the end of 4,000 yugas on earth. For 100 years there are no rains and there is widespread drought. Thereafter, Vishnu uses the rays of the sun to drink and dry up all the waters that there are on earth. 7 different suns appear in the sky and they burn up the 3 worlds of heaven, the earth and the underworld. The earth becomes as flat as the back of a turtle. The breath of the great snake, Shesha, also serves to burn up the 3 worlds. After the 3 worlds have been burned up, dark clouds full of thunder and lightning appear in the sky. For 100 years it continues to rain. The rain puts out the fires that have been raging. From Vishnu's breath are created tremendous winds and these drive away the clouds. But there is water everywhere. And Vishnu sleeps on these waters. For an entire kalpa he sleeps. The sages then pray to Vishnu for the 3 worlds to be created yet again. Yam and hell. When human beings die, their physical bodies are given up. But they acquire new bodies that are known as ativehika bodies. In these bodies, they are brought to Yam's abode by Yam's servants. Living beings other than human are not brought to Yam. Yam then decides whether the dead person should go to heaven or to hell. After he has served his time in heaven or in hell, he is born again. Yam further decides what living being the person should be born as, depending on the actions in his past life. And so the cycle of birth, death and rebirth goes on and on. Since he keeps tally of all good deeds and all sins, Yam is also known as the god Dharma. Those who have done good deeds are rewarded by Yam, and those who have committed sins are punished. Chitragupta is Yam's accountant. He keeps the account of all punya and papa. There are 28 circles of hells with many hells located in each circle. A sinner may have to go to more than one hell depending on the sins that he has committed. Some sinners are boiled in oil, others are pierced with spears, and still others are whipped. Some sinners are fed heated iron balls, others are fed blood and rubbish. There are also machines for torturing sinners. Terrible birds eat up some sinners. Other sinners have their heads cut off. When it is time to be reborn, the killer of a Brahmana is born as a deer, dog, pig or camel. A drunkard is born as a donkey. A stealer of gold is born as a worm or an insect. A killer of a Brahmana may also suffer from tuberculosis. A drunkard will have teeth like a dog, and a stealer of gold will malformed nails. A stealer of food is born dumb. A person who has stolen the property of Brahmanas is born as a Rakshasa and lives alone in the forest. A stealer of fragrant scents is born as a mole. One who steals food grains is born as a rat. One who steals animals is born as a goat. One who steals milk as cow. One who steals fruit as monkey, and one who steals meat as a vulture. A stealer of clothes is born as a crane, and a stealer of salt as a cricket. Yoga is the way to circumvent the miseries of life. True knowledge is that which informs one about the true nature of Brahman or Paramatman. The Atman or Jivatman is that which characterizes an individual. Yoga means union. It is the union of the Jivatman with the Paramatman. Yoga concentrates one's mind on the Paramatman. The first prerequisites of yoga is non-violence. A non-violent person is always righteous. The second requirement of yoga is truthfulness. The third prerequisite is celibacy. The fourth is controlling one's senses, and the last is the worship of God. One who practices yoga should not go around collecting material possessions. A piece of cloth, a covering against the cold, and a pair of sandals are possessions enough for him. Before meditating on the true nature of the Paramatman, one has to seat oneself in a proper asana, posture. The piece of cloth on which one is to sit should be placed in a clean place. One sits on such a seat and tries to purify one's Atman by controlling one's mind and senses through yoga. The head and the neck should be held straight up, motionless. The point of vision should be directed towards the tip of one's nose. One should not look in any direction. The arms should lightly rest on the folded thighs, and the right hand should be placed, palm upwards, on the left palm. Padmasana, lotus position, is one such recommended posture. The breath of life, pranavayu, has to be controlled. This process of control is known as pranayam. A finger is placed on the nose when the breath is being exhaled. The entire breath should be exhaled from the body. Since rechna means exhalation, this process of control is known as rechka. When the breath is inhaled, the inhalation should be such that it fills the entire body. Since purka literally means that which fills, this process of control is known as purka. When the breath is neither being exhaled nor inhaled, one sits completely still like a kumbha, pot, and this is known as kumbhaka. Pranayam makes one healthy, swift, enthusiastic, strong and collected. Since the senses are controlled, one goes to heaven and avoids going to hell. Material pursuits are like the strong current of a river. The Atman drowns in it. Pranayam alone is not enough. It has to be supplemented with dhyana of japa, meditation and contemplation. One contemplates the true nature of the Paramatman. The body is like a chariot. The senses are its horses. The mind is the charioteer and pranayam is the bridle. An individual who dies while performing dhyana is immediately assimilated with Vishnu. Dhyana involves 4 different things, all of which must be in complete harmony. The first is the meditator, the second is the act of meditating, the third is the object that one is meditating upon, and the fourth is the reason why one is performing the mediation. One does not have to sit in a rigid posture for dhyana to be possible. It can be done while one is walking, sitting or even sleeping. The important aspect is to establish the object of one's meditation in one's heart. There are different ways of establishing one's concentration. As an object of meditation, one can meditate on 3 concentric circles which are black, red and white. In the center of the circles is a divine lotus. The lotus has 8 petals. One thinks that detachment is the stem of the lotus and praying to Vishnu its stamen. Right in the center of the lotus is a pure spark of fire, and that is the Paramatman. Alternatively, one can visualize the Paramatman in a blaze of light, in the center of the lotus. Dhyana is far superior to any yajna that one might perform. One particular form of deep and intense meditation is known as samadhi. The meditator is then completely still, as calm as the ocean. He loses all track of the outside world. He does not hear, smell, see or touch. His mind has no wishes and feels nothing. He is completely united with God. Such a meditator automatically gets to know all the knowledge that can be gleaned from the Vedas or the Shastras. He can obtain all the material possessions that he wants, but he regards them all as no more important than a blade of grass. Such a meditator attains supreme knowledge. If you look at various pots full of water, you will find that the same sky is reflected in them all. Supreme knowledge tells one that, exactly similarly, it is the same Atman that is everywhere. It is the Atman which is the same as the Paramatman. It is this Atman that is in the water, in energy, in water, in the earth and in metals. The Atman is everywhere. The knowledge of the Brahman Brahmajnana is the knowledge of Brahman. This knowledge, which gives the ultimate bliss, is nothing but the sense that the individual Atman is identical with the universal Brahman or Paramatman. The physical body is not the Atman, nor are the senses the Atman. The mind or intelligence is not the Atman. Life itself is not the Atman. The Atman is different from all the objects that have been mentioned above. The Atman is in an individual's heart. It sees everything and senses everything, but is different from the physical body. It is this that sages contemplate when they meditate. The sky was created from the Brahman, from the sky came wind, from wind fire, from fire water, from water the earth, and from the earth the 5 elements. One has to meditate on the physical body gradually disappearing and merging into the Brahman. The Brahman is neither true nor untrue. It has neither form nor is it without form. The Brahman has several parts, but at the same time it is an integral whole. The Brahman cannot be described. It cannot be achieved through the power of action. The Brahman is always pure. It has no ties and it is the true form of happiness. What is required is the sense that it is I, the individual, who am the Brahman. I am nothing but the Atman and the Atman is nothing but the Brahman. This sense is true knowledge. The Brahman is the Lord who is the origin of everything and the individual is part of the Brahman. It is this knowledge that frees one from the ties of the world, and this is what Brahman Jnana is all about. The Brahman is not the earth, it is beyond the earth. The Brahman is not the wind, nor is it the sky. The Brahman has no beginning, it is independent of all action. The Brahman is huge, it is everywhere. The Brahman not only has no form, it is beyond all form. The Brahman cannot be heard. It cannot be touched. The Brahman has neither intelligence nor mind. It has no sense of ego or vanity. It does not have life, birth, old age or death. The Brahman is neither happy nor unhappy. It does not feel hungry or thirsty. It cannot be measured. At the same time, it is both nothing and everything. Life has 5 possible ends. By performing yajnas one can attain heaven. By performing tapasya one can become an ascetic. By performing actions one can attain brahmaloka. By detachment from material pursuits, vairagya, one can merge oneself into nature. And by true knowledge the individual gets absorbed into the divine essence. This is known as kaivalya. Detachment means to withdraw oneself from the effects of all actions. And knowledge means the knowledge that the Atman is no different from the Brahman. This is known as Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. There are few people who attain this knowledge. One of those was Parata. Parata had done a lot. He became very attached to a deer, and when he died thinking of the deer. The result was that in his next life, Parata was born as a deer. But the deer happened to be a Jatismara, that is, it remembered its earlier life. The deer eventually died and Parata was again born as Jatismara human. The king of Subira was once traveling on a palanquin and he wanted someone who would bear his palanquin free of charge. The king's servants caught hold of Bharata to bear the palanquin. But Bharata moved slowly and could not keep up with the other bearers. The palanquin did not progress and the king asked Bharata, "Why are you so tired? You have not been bearing my palanquin for long. Can't use some toil? You look fairly strong to me." Bharata replied, "I am not strong. Nor am I bearing your palanquin. I am not tired, nor am I lazy. I am my Atman and feet are, and my body is balanced on my thighs. My shoulders are on my body and your palanquin rests on my shoulders. But I am not my feet, thighs, body or shoulders. I am the Atman. The Atman is not carrying you. So why do you say that I am beating you?" Bharata then instructed the king on the mysteries of true knowledge. The Atman was pure, everlasting, calm, without traits and beyond natural characteristics. Since the Atman had no traits and since an individual was the Atman and not the body, it was meaningless to say that an individual was strong or weak. The physical body was made of the elements and so was the palanquin. What was the point therefore in saying that the physical body was bearing the palanquin? Heeding these words of wisdom, the king fell at Bharata's feet. "Forgive me," he said, and let go of the palanquin. "Who are you?" "Who am I?" asked Bharata. "That is not a question that can easily be answered." The king answered, "I fail to understand. Surely the form in which you are now existing is who you are." "No," said Bharata. "I am the Atman and the Atman is the same as the Paramatman. The Paramatman is everywhere and therefore, the Atman is also everywhere. I am everywhere. I am in all physical bodies. It is meaningless to ask who you are and who I am. We are all one and the same. Wood has come from the trees and this palanquin is made of wood. But is the palanquin wood or tree?" When you ride on the palanquin, does anyone say that you are riding on a tree? Men, women, cows, horses, elephants, birds and trees, these are all meaningless names. They are all illusions. Everything is one and the same. I am everywhere. If there had been a place or an object where I do not exist, I could have everywhere. I do not know how to answer your question. Tell me, King, are you your head or your stomach? Or is all of it you? But then, what will you call that which is distinct from your physical body? Think about what I have said. Bharata's words were so profound that the king immediately accepted Bharata as a teacher. And Bharata told the king the story of Raghu and Nidaga. The sage Raghu was Brahma's son. He was also extremely learned. Nidaga was Raghu's disciple. After Raghu had taught Nidaga what there was to be taught, Nidaga went to the city to see how Nidaga was getting on. Nidaga worshipped his teacher and gave him all sorts of things to eat. After Raghu had eaten, Nidaga asked him, "Are you satisfied?" "What do you mean?" asked Raghu. The question of satisfaction would have arisen had I been hungry or thirsty. I am my Atman and the Atman is always satisfied. So what is the Brahman that is omnipresent, and so are you? You are not distinct from me, we are both part of the same whole. I came to teach you this knowledge. Now that you have learned that the Brahman is everywhere, let me leave. After another 1,000 years had passed, Raghu came to the city again and discovered that Nidaga no longer lived in the city. He had begun to live on the outskirts of the city. "Why have you given up living in the city?" Raghu asked Nidaga. "Because I do not like to live in the city, where there is a king," replied Nidaga. "Who is the king?" asked Raghu. "Point him out to me in this procession that is passing. And point out to me the subjects." Nidaga said, "The king is the one who is as tall as a mountain peak. He is the one who is riding the elephant. The ones who are walking are the subjects." "What do you mean?" asked Raghu. "The Brahman is in the king and the Brahman is in the elephant. How do you distinguish one from the other? How do you say that one is riding the other? Is the king the physical body or the Atman, and is the elephant the physical body or the Atman? Who is riding on whom? I do not understand." This knowledge, that the Atman is the same as the Brahman, is known as Advat, unified, Brahmajnana. Raghu taught this to the king of Subira. This is the knowledge that all elements are one and the same. It is only those who suffer from illusions who think that different elements and different beings have different identities. The Gita. Krishna had taught Arjuna the lessons of the Gita on the plains of Kurukshetra. The Agni Purana now relates the essence of the Gita. If physical body is alive, that is no reason for rejoicing. Just as, if the physical body is dead, that is no reason for mourning. The Atman does not die. It does not decay, it cannot be destroyed, and it is immortal. The Atman does not warrant any tears that might be shed over it. People who are addicted to sensual pleasures cannot realize this. The person who is addicted to the Atman alone has no desire for anything else. He had no action to perform. He had neither gains nor losses. The knowledge of this is like a raft that rescues one from the flood of illusions. This knowledge frees one from the shackles of all actions, karma, since all actions are vested in the Brahman. A person with this knowledge is as pure as a drop of water on a lotus flower. Such a person sees himself in everything and everything in himself. There are 4 types of people who worship Vishnu. The first category consists of people who are in trouble. The second consists of people who desire wealth. The third consists of people who are merely curious, while the last consists of people who hanker after true knowledge. It is the last category of people who realize the union and identity of the Atman and the Brahman. The Brahman is there in the smallest blade of grass. It is there in the most powerful and sacred of people. The physical senses mean nothing, they merely further the Brahman extends beyond all these senses. The Brahman has neither traits, nor is it without traits. The Brahman creates and destroys, it is the most powerful of all energies. Some realize the identity of the Atman and the Brahman through meditation, others through actions. Jung Gita. There was a king named Vajashrava. His son was Nachiketa. Vajashrava arranged for a wonderful sacrifice at which he gave away all his wealth. Nachiketa asked, "Father, whom have you given me to?" His father did not reply, but Nachiketa kept asking again and again. At this, Vajashrava became angry and said, "I have given you to Yam." Faithful to his father's word, Nachiketa decided to go to Yam's abode. The road was difficult, but Nachiketa got there and waited for 3 days to see Yam. No one returned to the earth from Yam's abode. But Yam was so pleased to have met Nachiketa that he granted him the boon that Nachiketa could return to the earth. Nachiketa, however, had no desire to accept such a boon. Instead, he wanted to know from Yam the true nature of the Atman. The instructions that Yam gave to Nachiketa have come to be known as the Jung Gita. The Agni Purana now recapitulates the essence of the Jung Gita. Yam said that it was indeed strange that men craved after possessions, houses and clothes. The sages have all taught that one should not get addicted to these sensual pleasures. And yet, man did not learn. The Brahman is that which possesses nothing and everything. It cannot be seen and yet it is everywhere. The Atman is like a warrior on a chariot, the physical body being the chariot, the intelligence the charioteer and the mind the bridle. The senses are the horses and the warrior's job is to control the horses and target his arrow at the knowledge of the Brahman. Those who are truly learned know of the identity between the Atman and the Brahman. Samadhi is nothing but the recognition of this union. When the physical body comes to an end, the Atman is free and can merge with the Brahman. The Agni Purana's virtues. The last chapter of the Agni Purana describes 3 virtues of the Purana. The Agni Purana is most holy. It gives health and ends nightmares. It spreads happiness. Ill omens vanish from house where the Agni Purana is kept. A man who listens to the recital of the Agni Purana every day had no need of pilgrimages, alms, sacrifices and fasts. Reading 1 chapter of the text yields the same punya as may be obtained from donating a cow. Even if one only wishes to hear a recital of the Agni Purana, the sins committed over the duration of a day are forgiven. Reading the whole of the text gives one the punya that can be obtained by donating 100 cows at a sacred place of pilgrimage. Enemies and thieves dare not frequent a house where there is a text of the Agni Purana. Ghosts give such a house a miss. A Brahman who listens to a recital of the Purana becomes learned in the Vedas. A Kshatriya becomes the ruler of the world, a Vaishya becomes rich and a Shudra attains good health. Nothing is so sacred as writing down the text of the Purana and donating it to Brahmanas. If you enjoyed this audiobook series on Agni Purana, please like and subscribe to be notified of when Bhagavad Mahapurana has been uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.